Hi, I'm Chris Brown, and I'm a part-time hobo and full-time student of life, and well, I've got some tales to tell. And, well, here we are on the Stone Arch Bridge, which is also known as the J.J. Hill Railroad Bridge. This bridge was built back in the 1880s. It was one of the most earliest and most unique railroad bridges over the Mississippi River. And behind me here is the Hennepin Avenue Bridge, which was one of the first bridges to cross the Mississippi River and built in 1855. And, well, that was several bridges ago. And below us, at one time, you could find hobo camps, well, that were stuffed full of hobos because this was railroad territory. And, well, during the Depression, this is where hobos hung out. But I've always liked bridges and been on many. Perhaps it's because my father helped build the Mackinac Bridge, which spans from the lower peninsula of Michigan to the upper peninsula, and is one of the longest suspension bridges in the world. Or perhaps it's the fact that I crossed the Fox River on a bridge, and I was one of the first to cross the Alloway-Ashwaubenon Bridge on a single span, only a foot wide. When I was 15, I was darn determined that I was going to be one of the first to cross that bridge, and I was, with a couple of buddies. Well, perhaps it was crossing the Golden Gate Bridge back in the 1989, just before the earthquake that hit during the World Series. Or maybe it was crossing over the Sydney Harbor Bridge, which I walked over many times, this iron monstrosity, wondering how did they build this thing? But I think it has something to do with my desire to cross the Howrah Bridge over the Hooghly River in Calcutta, India, which I eventually got a chance to do. When I was 15, my buddy Scully showed me a picture of this bridge just teeming with humanity. It had everything on it, from buses and cars and tuk-tuks and bicycles and cows and people of all sorts walking across this crazy bridge. And I was determined that one day I was going to do the same. Well, darned if in 1982 I didn't find myself in Calcutta, and there I was, and I was going to cross that bridge. So one day, after exploring the city a bit, got up and spent the day crossing the Howrah Bridge over the Hooghly River. And it met every expectation. I had to maneuver my way around quite a sea of humanity, luckily isolated a bit from much of the traffic of the bicycles and the carts and the buses and the trolleys going over. But it was crazy, and mixed in with that sea of humanity were many, many beggars. Begging is a fact of life in India, and, well, you kind of have to get used to it, and you have to throw empathy a little bit to the side just to get through, because you can't fix the problem by giving out rupees to the beggars, and I learned that lesson fairly quickly. Sad as it is. Well, after spending the several, maybe hour and a half walking across a bridge, and it was a very hot day, wound up over in the Howrah Railway Station, which is on the other side of the bridge. And that is one of the largest railroad stations in India. And it's a huge structure. And like many of the large railroadways in India, it's surrounded by slums that go on and on and on. And therefore, it also attracts many, many beggars. Well, I went into the railway station to book a ticket because I was going to be leaving from there in several days. And sure enough, it was teeming with even more beggars, more people, just a sea of humanity and craziness. And I wandered around through this, looking at this and that and taking pictures and stealing away. And, well, there's quite the sights and sounds and smells to be taken in all of India, and certainly in the Howrah Railway Station. Well, there was one moment I was alone, and one young little beggar girl who was probably 6 years old came up, rupee, 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 and I looked around. I didn't see anybody in real close sight, so I gave her 100 rupees, which was a big score for her. Well, little did I know that there were eyes all over, and out come throngs and throngs of little children, rupee, 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 and I was surrounded by children and beggars and all means, and some of them who had broken bones and things that just to up the empathy level. I could do nothing about it, so I had to put my head up high and walk out of the Howrah station and back across that bridge in that sea of humanity. And it was quite an experience. You'll hardly ever experience any kind of beggars like that and kind of those things in the world. And it's sad to see, and yet it's a reality that happens in India. But it was something that I've learned from, and I hope that we all can learn from how this world operates in such places. Anyway, that's tale from the Howrah Avenue Bridge, or from the Stone Arch Bridge. Till then, I'm Chris Brown, part-time hobo, and I'll see you soon. I've got a train to catch.